I'd been able to see people's spirits for as long as I could remember, even before I was born, and I could hear them speak. Because of that, I carried a heavy, death-cold aura. My parents would rather dote on my adopted younger sister than spare me a single glance. Later, Savannah Hayes landed herself Preston Ford, a New York high society heir, and that only made her the darling of the family. But on the eve of their wedding, Preston was suddenly in a car accident and ended up in a coma. When the Ford family asked Savannah to honor the engagement, she rejected them without the slightest hesitation. "You expect me to tend to a bedridden, unconscious man and handle his daily care? Never. I won't throw my whole life away on someone who cannot care for himself. I will never agree to this marriage." That was when I saw the Ford heir's spirit. His face was so pale it had turned bluish, and his eyes were full of hatred as he looked at Savannah. How can she be this heartless? The doctors clearly said I could wake up within 6 months. If someone is willing to step up and take care of me, the first thing I'll do when I wake up is give her $30 million just to get back at that cruel woman. My eyes lit up, and I timidly raised my hand. Then, how about I marry him? Marrying into high society wasn't the important part. The important part was that I really wanted that $30 million. I thought Savannah would stop me. After all, ever since we were kids, her greatest joy had been going against me and watching me suffer. But to my surprise, this time, she burst out laughing and shoved me forward. "You're an eyesore at home, anyway. It's perfect. Then you can stay here and look after him in my place. Look at you. Have you never seen a man before? You're so desperate to throw yourself at a man in a coma. How pathetic can you get?" I lowered my head and said nothing. I could get away from this family and earn $30 million at the same time. Honestly, I couldn't wait for that so-called throwing myself at him to work. Preston's spirit, on the other hand, was furious. He floated behind Savannah and kept swinging his fists at her. Well, Savannah, you used to tell me Rowan was always bullying you. So that was all a lie. You were the one bullying Rowan all along, and I actually let a fake sweet manipulator like you play me for a fool. His resentment was so intense that even the air around us seemed to drop several degrees. I silently hunched my shoulders and walked up to Mrs. Ford Sr. of my own accord. "I'm the Hayes family's biological daughter. If you don't mind, Mrs. Ford Sr., I'm willing to marry Preston in Savannah's place." The elder Mrs. Ford had looked worried before that. After Preston's accident, the Ford family had told the public that he would recover soon. If his fiancée backed out at this critical moment, people would laugh at the Ford family. Worse, they would lose confidence in the family's business, and the stock price would take a hit. And I had clearly become the Ford family's lifeline. Mrs. Ford Sr. grabbed my hand in excitement. "You're really willing? But Preston is unconscious right now, so he can't legally marry you or have the wedding with you yet. As long as you take good care of him and do what a wife should do, once he wakes up, you'll be the only woman the Ford family recognizes as his wife." I nodded obediently. I'm very good at taking care of people. I was the one who cared for my paralyzed grandparents growing up. The spirit frowned and floated over to my side. He looked me up and down, and the wave of cold air coming from him made a shiver run down my spine. I pretended I didn't know he was there and kept trying to sell myself. "I can cook. I know how to turn patients in bed and give them bed baths. I'm very patient, too." My parents eagerly chimed in. Yes. Rowan was born low. Taking care of people is all she's good for. She's perfect for taking care of the Ford heir. As her parents, we agree to this marriage. You should take her back with you right away." My parents couldn't wait to shove me out the door, as if they were glad to send away a burden at last. Behind the door came Savannah's shrill laughter. "One carries a death-cold aura, and the other is in a coma. One carries a cold, gloomy aura, and the other lies unconscious. You two are well suited for each other." The spirit kept shaking his head as he listened. "Savannah is vicious. So all that kindness and innocence she showed before was fake. I was blind. When I wake up, I'm giving Rowan that $30 million immediately, just to make Savannah furious." As I watched his spirit drift out through the wall, I prayed silently. You promised me $30 million. Please, please keep your word. Half an hour later, I met Preston himself in a private intensive care suite. He was painfully thin, with tubes running all over his body, and machines were keeping his vital signs stable. Mrs. Ford Sr. wiped away her tears. He suffered a traumatic brain injury. The surgery was successful, but he still needs time to recover. It could be as little as 6 months. It could be as long as 3 years. We're not just trying to protect the Ford family's public image. We also want him to have someone by his side. Savannah should have thought about it. It's not as if we can't afford professional nurses. Why would we ever ask her to clean bedpans herself? What Mrs. Ford Sr. meant was that someone in Preston's condition needed strong emotional companionship if he was going to wake up. Ideally, someone would talk to him every day, keeping his brain stimulated so he could recover faster. But outsiders couldn't be allowed to see Preston in such critical condition, and Mrs. Ford Sr. was busy keeping the company steady. Savannah had originally been the best candidate. No one expected the responsibility to fall on me in the end. Preston's spirit stood beside the hospital bed, his face ashen. I thought Savannah would stay with me too. Instead, she killed whatever feelings I had left for her. All I wanted was someone reliable to read me financial news every day. Why is that so hard? I wonder if Rowan can do it. After listening to him ramble for a while, I understood. Right now, his consciousness had separated from his body, which was why I could see his spirit. Once he woke up, his spirit would naturally return to his body. After thinking it over, I laid out my plan. I'll read Preston the news every day, then keep movies, shows, and music playing in the background. I'll describe the weather to him each day and expose him to different scents as much as possible, so his awareness of the outside world stays active. As for sponge baths and basic care, if you don't mind, Mrs. Ford Sr., I'd like to handle those too. It'll help Preston get used to me. Mrs. Ford Sr. and Preston's spirit both thought I was making empty promises. Neither of them believed I would actually be that thoughtful, careful, and patient. But by the next day, they were already seeing me differently. When Mrs. Ford Sr. came to the room, I had just finished shaving Preston, which made him look much less worn down. A newly released movie was playing on the TV, and I explained a few parts to him from time to time. At the same time, I held a tablet and read financial news aloud to him on a set schedule. A cup of homemade fruit tea sat near Preston's pillow, its fragrance covering the smell of disinfectant. I had even set up a small bed for myself in the room, so I could stay with Preston around the clock. Mrs. Ford Sr. was deeply moved. You could actually go back to the Ford house to sleep at night. I smiled and told her, as long as I don't have to live in my old home, I'm happy anywhere. Besides, staying here can strengthen the emotional connection between Preston and me. That should help wake him up. After saying that, I secretly glanced at his spirit. His expression looked much better. Savannah has been spoiled her whole life. Even if she came, she wouldn't take good care of me. Rowan, on the other hand, seems pretty reliable. I guess this is a blessing in disguise. It looked like I had passed Preston's personal test. That would make everything after this much easier. I started paying close attention to Preston's spirit. Maybe drifting too far away would affect whether his spirit could return to his body, because he usually stayed in the hospital room. Only when the weather was nice would he occasionally drift outside for a bit. The last time he had risked going that far, it had been to see Savannah. Now that he was completely done with her, he stopped wandering off. Whenever I took care of Preston, his spirit stayed beside me, constantly talking to himself. How does Rowan know I like opera? Looks like she did her homework. Not bad. Why didn't she also find out that my favorite fruit is durian? She makes me smell apples every day. I'm sick of them. The next day, I brought in a huge durian and opened it right in front of him. Your Highness, guess how many pods we'll find inside? I had gotten bolder by then. I even started messing with Preston's fingers. One moment, I posed them into a number sign for 6. The next, I posed them into one for 8. At first, his spirit protested. Stop that. No one has ever dared to treat me like this. Do you think I'm your toy? Later, he got used to it. He would roll his eyes while the corner of his mouth secretly curved up. When the smell of durian filled the hospital room, his spirit's eyes lit up, and even his will to live seemed to grow stronger. I'm craving this so badly. I have to wake up soon so I can eat durian with Rowan until we're both stuffed. After his spirit said that, the line on the heart monitor showed a subtle fluctuation. I picked up the durian too and dug in happily. Your Highness, do you know this is the first time I've ever been able to eat durian? It's all thanks to you. Back at home, all I ever got were rotten apples and oranges. His spirit froze. By then, I had gotten used to Preston's face, and I opened up to him as if he were a friend. Your mom thought I was working hard, so she gave me $15,000 for my trouble. But back home, I had to take care of my parents and Savannah. Before that, I also had to take care of my grandparents. Now that I'm here, I only have to take care of you. It's actually much easier. His spirit floated over to me and looked at me deeply without saying a word. That day, I calmly told him a lot of things. I told him how my parents had abused me and how Savannah had bullied me all these years. After I'd poured out everything I had been holding in, I felt lighter. But his spirit's eyes had reddened. Are Rowan's parents insane? Why wouldn't they cherish such a good biological daughter? Why dote on a spoiled, adopted daughter with a princess complex instead? When I wake up, I'm going to make that whole family pay for what they did to Rowan. I was a little touched, but honestly, punishing them was optional. As long as the $30 million landed safely in my account, I would thank God. After that day, my relationship with Preston's spirit became much closer. I still pretended I didn't know he existed, but I gave him whatever he asked for. He also stayed by my side all the time, watching everything I did. For months passed like that. One day, while I was bending Preston's fingers again, his fingers suddenly moved on its own. Even his spirit was stunned. My nerves and muscles. I think they're responding to external stimulation. That means my brain and nervous system are recovering well. Does that mean my spirit will reconnect with my body soon? Overjoyed, I immediately notified Mrs. Ford Sr. The good news spread quickly. A large team of specialists soon arrived to evaluate Preston, and Savannah stormed into the hospital room right along with them. She glanced at the comatose man on the bed with disgust, then roughly dragged me outside. I heard Preston is about to wake up. When I stayed silent, Savannah slapped me across the face. You really think you've attached yourself to the Ford family now? How dare you give me attitude? Preston's spirit was so angry, he gritted his teeth. Rowan, are you stupid? Hit her back. I'll back you up. You won't stand up for yourself? Then I'll make her pay for this. But when he swung his fist, it had no force at all. All it did was send icy drafts sweeping through the air. Savannah jabbed a finger at my nose and warned me, if Preston really wakes up, you're leaving. When the time comes, I'll make him believe I was the one taking care of him all along. After all, I'm the woman Preston loves. Even if he wakes up, I'm the only one he'll marry. Preston's spirit reacted faster than I did. As long as my brain keeps the memories from when I was a spirit, I will never marry you. After saying that, he paused again. But now that I think about it, when I wake up, will I actually remember any of this? What if I forget everything? Can my spirit's consciousness fully merge back into my body's consciousness? I can't believe I didn't think of that. Oh no. What if I forget and really think Savannah was the one taking care of me? I rubbed my stinging cheek, feeling just as uneasy. Honestly, I didn't care who Preston married. The real problem was that if Savannah stole all the credit, wouldn't my $30 million go up in smoke? Preston's spirit quickly smacked his forehead. I almost forgot about my mom. My mom has seen Savannah's true colors. She won't let me go through with marrying Savannah.
Right.
As long as my mom is there, she can prove Rowan was the one taking care of me. But neither of us expected Savannah to be so unwilling to give up. She turned around and went straight to Mrs. Ford Sr. Without a shred of shame, Savannah said, "You know Preston's personality. Once he decides he wants me, he'll marry me no matter what. When he wakes up, you can't force him to marry a woman he barely knows, can you? He survived something this serious. As his mother, you should support him more than ever, not interfere with his marriage." Mrs. Ford Sr. was actually moved by that argument. She came to discuss it with me, looking conflicted. Preston won't know who really took care of him anyway. When the time comes, I'll say it was Savannah. The two of them were already in love, so their marriage will seem perfectly natural, and everyone will get a happy ending. I'll give you generous compensation. As long as you don't say anything, no one will know you were the person who took care of Preston. When Preston's spirit saw me nod obediently, he kept whispering furiously in my ear. Rowan, can you stand up for yourself for once? Why are you handing your own credit to someone else? I wanted to, but I had been conditioned to swallow everything since I was little. I had no status, no one to back me up, and no confidence. What was I supposed to fight with? Preston's spirit was exasperated that I wouldn't stand up for myself. Forget it. Not one of you can be counted on. I'll just have to work harder and make sure I keep these memories myself. After Savannah convinced Mrs. Ford Sr., she released the news to the press ahead of time, just in case. Thanks to my devoted care, Preston is finally about to wake up. We'll be getting legally married and having the wedding soon. Before long, I'll officially become Mrs. Ford. Thank you all for your well wishes. The public believed that Savannah's devoted companionship was what had created Preston's miracle. With more and more specialists stepping in, along with Preston's own powerful will to survive, his test results showed before the 6-month mark that his brain had fully recovered. He could wake up at any time, and his spirit became more and more reluctant to leave me. Rowan, I hope I remember everything from this period when I wake up. God, please. I don't want to forget how good you were to me, and I don't want to mistake Savannah for my savior. I hope the same thing. But none of this was under my control. One day, I woke up and didn't see his spirit. I immediately realized what was happening. Preston was about to wake up. I called Mrs. Ford Sr. and the specialists over right away. Savannah also rushed over with the press after hearing the news. Under countless expectant gazes, the specialists carried out the final medical procedures before waking him. With a soft beep, Preston, who had been in a coma, actually opened his eyes slowly. Everyone held their breath, not daring to startle him. Preston moved his fingers slightly, then swallowed with difficulty. He narrowed his eyes at the ceiling, as if he were trying hard to remember something. At that moment, all I could do was pray that Preston still had the memories from when he had been a spirit, and that he clearly remembered who had been taking care of him. But if he had forgotten, then not only would my past 6 months of effort be wasted, but I would also have done all the work only for Savannah to walk away with a prize. Savannah couldn't hold back. She rushed anxiously to the bedside. Preston, you're finally awake. It's me, Savannah, the woman you love most. I was the one who carefully took care of you for the past 6 months. I cleaned up after you, changed your bedpans, and never left your side. You know that, don't you? You remember it, don't you? When I saw the confusion in Preston's eyes, my heart sank. Had he really forgotten everything? My parents leaned close to my ear and mocked me. Stop dreaming. Mrs. Ford Sr. already said that as long as Preston doesn't remember, Savannah is the one who took care of him. You should leave while you still can. Don't stay here and ruin Savannah's big moment. When I saw Preston staring deeply at Savannah, disappointment filled my chest. Deflated, I lowered my head and was just about to leave. Then, in the next second, Preston suddenly spoke, his voice cold as he questioned her. Was it really you who took care of me all this time? There was obvious suspicion in his eyes. Savannah was caught off guard and froze. When he saw guilt flash through her eyes, Preston coughed with difficulty, and his tone grew even colder as he asked again. Answer me. Was it you? The scene stopped me just as I was about to take a step away. I held my breath, suddenly nervous. Since Preston was suspicious, that meant he still retained at least some memories from his time as a spirit. Even if it was only a little, I still had hope. At the very least, I still had a chance to get my $30 million. Seeing the atmosphere turn awkward, my parents exchanged a look and rushed forward in perfect unspoken agreement. Yes, Mr. Ford. This is your fiancée, Savannah. She's the woman you love most. Don't you remember? Mr. Ford, you just woke up. It's normal for your memory to be a little foggy. Savannah has absolutely been the one taking care of you for the past 6 months. They eagerly crowded around Preston's hospital bed and deliberately blocked his line of sight, so he couldn't see me. Mrs. Ford Sr. patted my shoulder apologetically, then stepped forward too. All right, everyone move back. Don't overwhelm my son. After Savannah reluctantly moved away, Mrs. Ford Sr. held Preston's hand, her eyes full of tears. You did so well, sweetheart. The doctors all said this was a medical miracle. You're back now, and everything can get back on track. Don't worry. I'm here, and I'll make sure you recover and return to your normal life as soon as possible. Preston had just woken up, and his body was still extremely weak. He looked at Mrs. Ford Sr. with emotion in his eyes, but he didn't speak again. It was obvious he was saving his strength. The reporters gathered closer and quietly filmed the heartwarming scene. After all, Mrs. Ford Sr. was eager for everyone to know that Preston had woken up, that the company's future was secure, and that the stock price could be stabilized. As an outsider no one recognized, I had even less chance of squeezing in. But I still didn't really want to leave. I wanted to see if there might be another chance for things to turn around. Savannah, who had been pushed to the side, was clearly anxious. She had been staying here for the past few days because she wanted to rush forward and claim credit the moment Preston woke up, making it seem as if she had been the one caring for him. If the press captured it and ran a few stories, her marriage to Preston would become even more certain. Now that she hadn't achieved her goal, she could only vent all her resentment on me. Rowan, why are you still standing here? Are you still dreaming about marrying into high society? Look at that death-cold aura around you. You're a walking bad omen. Get out already. Even if I don't marry him, it still won't be your turn. I was holding back anger, and for once I fought back. Savannah, don't get too smug. Whether you can marry him or not is still up in the air. My parents were stunned. Rowan, how dare you talk back? You've gotten bold, haven't you? Come outside with me right now. I need to teach you a lesson. The three of them moved at once, grabbing me roughly and trying to drag me out. I struggled with all my strength, but I was no match for all three of them. Just as I was about to be forcibly dragged out of the hospital room, Preston suddenly pushed Mrs. Ford Sr. aside and looked straight in our direction. Stop. Everyone froze. Savannah and my parents all looked instantly displeased. The three of them exchanged glances, and Savannah, still reckless enough to push her luck, stepped in front of me again. Don't bother with her. She's just a care aide who snuck in to watch the drama. I'll make her leave right now. She dug her fingers hard into my arm and tried to force me out without another word. By then, Preston seemed a little more clear-headed, and his voice had grown much stronger. Move. That low, ruthless command was nothing like the chatty, oddly adorable spirit I knew, but it carried the cold authority of a true high society heir. It seemed the real Preston, and his spirit had two different personalities. Before my thoughts could wander any further, he struggled to lift a finger and pointed at me with some effort. You. Come here. Savannah panicked. She glared at me, her eyes full of warning. Don't you dare go. If you go over there, you're dead. Don't forget, I have plenty of ways to make you suffer. Have you forgotten everything I've put you through for more than 20 years? Behave yourself. Preston isn't someone you get to set your sights on. Honestly, I had still been hesitating. Should I take the compensation Mrs. Ford Sr. had offered and leave? Or should I take the risk and fight for myself? But when I saw Savannah still acting as arrogant as ever, as if she could control me and humiliate me whenever she wanted, a rare streak of defiance rose inside me. I shoved her away with all my strength. I'm going over there. I didn't want to let Savannah control my fate anymore. So I deliberately raised my voice and added, Can't you see the Ford heir is calling me over? You keep blocking me like this. What are you so guilty about? Are you afraid I'll expose something? The moment everyone heard that, not only did the reporters look over curiously, but a flicker of doubt also crossed Preston's eyes. Savannah's face flushed, and she was just about to grab me again when Mrs. Ford Sr. spoke in a low voice. Let Rowan come over. Noticing the complicated look on Mrs. Ford Sr.'s face, I realized she was also torn over whether she should tell Preston the truth. In that case, my chances seemed a little better. I suppressed the excitement pounding in my chest and slowly walked to the bedside. Preston narrowed his eyes and stared at me quietly for a few seconds. Then he asked, "What's your name?" "Rowan Hayes." Preston frowned. The pained look on his face made it obvious that he was trying hard to remember something, but nothing was coming to him. My stomach twisted with nerves. One moment I thought there was hope. The next I felt like it was over. In the dead silence, Preston's brow suddenly smoothed out again. He looked at me, then at Savannah. "You too. Answer me. What do I want to eat most right now?" My breath caught, but my eyes slowly lit up. Had Preston retained a few scattered memories and started testing me with a clue only I would recognize? Thinking back on the details of our time together, I almost blurted out the answer. But in the next second, Savannah shoved me aside. "You've never even spent time with Preston. You don't know him at all. How would you know what he likes to eat? Get out of the way. I'll answer." She planted herself firmly in front of me and began speaking with exaggerated emotion. "We dated for 3 years. I know you better than anyone. I know exactly what you want to eat right now. What you want most right now has to be my homemade chicken soup." The more she spoke, the more confident she became. "When you were sick last year, I made it for you. Once. You were so touched, and you even said it was the best thing you'd ever eaten. That time, you told me you hoped that whenever you got sick in the future, you could have my homemade chicken soup. But before this, you were in such a deep coma that even if you wanted it, you couldn't tell me. I made it for you many times too. I put it by your bed so you could smell it, hoping it would help you wake up sooner. Now you're finally awake. I'll go home later and make it for you so you can feel how much I missed you and how much I love you." As Savannah spoke, she even forced out a couple of tears. She also made sure to imply to the reporters, "You all said I was a gold digger before. You said I only wanted Preston for his money. But now this proves that my love for Preston is pure and genuine." The reporters immediately started taking close-up shots of Savannah, ready to turn those details into a touching story. My parents quickly echoed her. "Our daughter has been treated like a princess. Since she was little, she never had to lift a finger around the house. But for Preston, she started learning how to cook, all so he could taste something she made with her own hands when he woke up. I was so shocked by their shamelessness that the corner of my mouth twitched. Mrs. Ford Sr., standing nearby, quietly frowned as well. Her expression looked as if she had swallowed a fly. I wished I could ask her right then whether she was really sure she wanted her son to marry a two-faced, phony, social, climbing woman like this. Mrs. Ford Sr. was clearly conflicted too. When she saw confusion written all over Preston's face, she spoke up and stopped Savannah's self-directed little performance. "That's enough. Don't turn this room into a circus. You've answered. Let Rowan answer now." Mrs. Ford Sr. took the initiative to pull me back and had me face Preston. Timidly, I said one word. "Durian." The room fell into dead silence. Then Savannah burst out laughing. "Rowan, you really never cease to amaze me. I thought that even if you made something up, you'd at least make it sound believable. But this is complete nonsense. You're insane. I know Preston better than anyone. He hates that stinking thing more than anything. He used to stay 10 feet away the second he smelled durian. How could durian possibly be what he wants to eat most after waking up?" Seeing that Preston said nothing, I almost started doubting my own memory. I hadn't remembered wrong. His spirit had clearly said his favorite fruit was durian. Even his heartbeat had grown stronger when he smelled it. He had rambled in my ear countless times, saying that the moment he woke up, he was going to polish off an entire durian by himself. So was my memory wrong? Or had his spirit been talking nonsense just to trick me? As the standoff dragged on, Mrs. Ford Sr. looked embarrassed and quietly reminded me, "I've never seen my son eat durian. He watches his diet closely, so he usually avoids high-sugar fruit like that. Rowan, I understand that you feel wronged, but given the situation, the more I listened, the heavier my heart sank. So the spirit had given me the wrong information. After all, had I been confident for nothing? Rowan, I know you're a good girl, but my son's fiancée is still Savannah. Some things aren't entirely up to us. Let's just do what we agreed on, all right? That way, this won't turn ugly, and you won't be embarrassed in front of everyone. Mrs. Ford Sr. probably couldn't bear to watch me make a fool of myself. She transferred $75,000 to me on the spot and said that after I left, she would contact me again and give me additional compensation later. It was already a large amount of money. It was enough for me to leave this place, go back to school, finish the degree program I had always dreamed of, and maybe even continue my studies abroad. But as I looked at Preston's familiar yet unfamiliar face, all I felt was a bitter sense of unfairness.
Why?
I even remembered how his spirit had kept whispering encouragement in my ear, having me remember you and acknowledge what you did is the reward you deserve, Rowan. Are you really willing to keep letting Savannah bully you like this? If I don't remember when the time comes, you still have to be tougher and tell the truth. Don't be weak and let Savannah steal everything that belongs to you again, or I'll look down on you. When I thought of those words, a little more courage somehow rose inside me. At that moment, I saw Preston narrow his eyes as if he wanted to say something but couldn't quite get it out. Savannah was practically glowing with smugness. She grabbed Preston and shouted, "See? This woman is just a fraud. I'll help you get rid of her right now." She shot my parents a look. My parents were eager to act, and just like countless times before, they moved to throw me out. But in the next second, Preston, who had recovered a little more strength, actually snapped at Savannah. "Shut up." That was the first time since Preston had woken up that I saw clear disgust in his eyes. That one command gave me courage too. I said firmly, "Preston clearly has something to say to me. Until he tells me himself to leave, I'm not going anywhere." Mrs. Ford Sr. hadn't expected me to have such a strong side. Along with surprise, a hint of appreciation appeared in her eyes. Preston stared coldly at Savannah until she unwillingly moved away from the bedside. Then he lifted his finger toward me again. "Come here. Read me a couple of financial news briefs." Savannah and I realized it at the same time. Preston hadn't believed Savannah's story. He must have had vague memories, but he wasn't sure. That was why he wanted to recreate certain scenes and use them to uncover the truth. Savannah was so anxious, she nearly lost control. "Preston, what's the point of this? I'm your fiancé. Everyone knows we were about to get married. If your own fiancé wasn't the one taking care of you, then are you saying it was some woman you barely know? She did come to the hospital room, but at most, she was a care aide I brought in to help. That doesn't change our engagement, Preston, you dash." This time, it was Mrs. Ford Sr.'s turn to tell Savannah to shut up. She couldn't stand Savannah's ugly behavior anymore and told her to either shut up or get out. Immediately, I seized the opportunity and skillfully took the tablet from the bedside table, then focused completely as I read the financial news to Preston. I deliberately used the same tone and rhythm I usually used, and as I read, I even added a few of my own odd little explanations. Preston's expression didn't change at all. Savannah's face, however, grew uglier and uglier. After I finished reading the news, Preston had recovered even more strength. He signaled for the doctors to raise the head of his bed so he could sit upright. Then he stared hard at Savannah and me and asked sharply, "I'll ask one more time. Who is the person taking care of me for the past 6 months?" Savannah's body trembled. And this time, I didn't want to be so timid anymore. I was the one who had done it. Even if no one here admitted it, the hospital security footage could prove the truth, couldn't it? So after hesitating for only a few seconds, I stepped forward on my own for the first time. "It was me. I was the one who stayed by your side and took care of you personally for the past 6 months. I was the one who played movies, music, and opera for you every day. I was the one who read you the news and gave you sponge baths. It was always me, Rowan Hayes. Although things had gone off the original plan, Mrs. Ford Sr. actually let out a breath of relief when she saw me being brave. Preston's lips curved into a faint, amused smile, as if he was very satisfied with my answer. The moment our eyes met, I even felt that Preston had remembered everything from his time as a spirit as soon as he woke up. He had only dragged this out on purpose to test whether I would fight for myself. I wondered whether he remembered the $30 million too. If he did, could he hurry up and transfer it to me? Wouldn't that be the perfect way to make Savannah furious? Savannah clearly sensed that something was wrong. Still unwilling to give up, she tried to turn things around one last time. No, don't listen to her nonsense. Preston, you know this. Rowan has bullied me since we were kids. She loves stealing my things, and now she's trying to steal you from me too. It would have been better if Savannah had never said that. The moment she brought up that lie, Preston's gaze sharpened, as if even more memories had returned to him. His expression turned ice cold. Savannah, I don't want to see you right now. Get as far away from me as you can. Once he said that, Mrs. Ford Sr. raised her hand and called the bodyguards in. Just as Savannah was about to be dragged away, Preston suddenly spoke again. Wait. Savannah's face lit up. She thought Preston was softening toward her for old time's sake. But to her surprise, Preston said something quietly into his mother's ear, then looked up and smiled at me. Rowan, to thank you for taking such careful care of me for the past 6 months, I've decided to give you $30 million. With so many people here as witnesses, this is a voluntary gift. Take it without worrying. In the next second, under Mrs. Ford Sr.'s instructions, my phone chimed with a notification that $30 million had arrived in my account. The world spun around me, and I nearly fainted from happiness. Then Savannah's shrill scream yanked me back to reality. Rowan, what gives you the right? Her face twisted with jealousy, her eyes bloodshot. That $30 million should be mine. If I hadn't given you this chance, how would you ever have gotten something this good? Give me the money. Give it to me. Just as she lunged toward me with her hands clawing through the air, the bodyguards dragged her and my parents away without mercy. The reporters captured every second of her miserable humiliation, and it felt like a fierce bit of revenge on my behalf. I also made up my mind. In a little while, I would hire the best lawyer I could find and sue my parents for abusing me when I was growing up. While I was at it, I would cut them out of my life for good. After the reporters asked a few more brief questions, the hospital room finally quieted down. Mrs. Ford Sr. didn't blame me. Instead, she thoughtfully gave Preston and me time to talk. Now that I was facing a living, breathing Preston, I actually felt a little awkward. Seeing me fidget, Preston narrowed his eyes with amusement and asked, Rowan, how did you know my favorite fruit was durian?
All right, everybody, gather around because today's lesson is absolutely unhinged. Lesson number 1. If a ghost billionaire promises you $30 million, write that down. Get witnesses. Get a lawyer. Get a notarized haunted contract. Lesson number 2. Never let your enemies do your marketing. Savannah really said, go take care of my comatose fiancé. And Rowan said, okay. 6 months later, plus $30,000,000 acquired. That's not stealing your man. That's collecting a convenience fee. Lesson number 3. If you're going to lie, at least learn the man's favorite fruit. Savannah, his favorite thing is my chicken soup. Preston wakes up from a 6-month coma. Actually, where's my durian? Lesson number 4. Parents who treat one child like garbage and the other like royalty always act shocked when the neglected child becomes rich and hires lawyers. Lesson number 5. The spirit version of Preston spent 6 months yelling, Rowan, stand up for yourself. Bro came back from the dead just to become her motivational speaker. And finally, the true moral of the story. If a billionaire's ghost starts giving you stock updates, relationship advice, and fruit preferences every day, don't panic. You're either in a romance novel, or you're about to receive the easiest $30 million paycheck in human history.